Hello, and welcome to Allegheny County Library's Let's Get Lit. Well, this is where we talk about exciting titles so you, our patrons, can know what to read next. We will be talking about hot new titles to the library and also still burning titles, which may be older but are ones we have loved. Let's Get Lit is available in video format on the ACLS YouTube as well as in podcast format on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so you can subscribe for updates when we release new episodes. Let's Get Lit will be bi-monthly, and we would love your feedback as we do this. Contact information will be in the description as well as at the end of the episode. Any titles mentioned will have links to our catalog in the description as well. Now, let's get lit.
I'm Allie.
I'm Shane.
I'm Liz. And today we're going to be talking about young adult books. Young adult books are not just for teens, they are for all ages, and some of the best books I've ever read have been teen books.
Absolutely.
Hear, hear. There are times I wish that they were mixed in with the adult section, so more people would read them, because they do tend to deal with some adult topics at times. So,
what have you been reading, Liz?
Oh, do you want to know what I just finished reading?
Sure.
It's not a YA.
Oh, okay.
And it's a nonfiction.
Uh-huh.
And it's Empire of Pain by Patrick Keefe, about the Sackler family and the opioid crisis. Excellent book. A lot of insight into how that all came about, the opioid crisis.
Well, I've been reading a lot of stuff on the Hoopla digital library. One that I really enjoyed recently was called That Texas Blood, Volume 1, just came out. This is by Chris Condon, and this is kind of like a pulpy version of No Country for Old Men, the book by Cormac McCarthy and the movie by the Coen brothers. There's a 10-panel sequence in this volume that is terrifyingly awesome, and that's really what hooked me on it, because I thought it was just going to be like a retread of the old sheriff that has to contend with violent crimes in his town. It's filled with bad people doing violence, and there's a bloody mess that results from all their crimes, and it's all really engaging because the dialogue is so believable and it's not fantastical. It's really about people who have blue-collar jobs just trying to make sense of senseless things. I would say check it out if you like the Reckless series or Pulp by Sean Phillips. This, like I said, is available on Hoopla.
Hoopla has a fantastic selection of graphic novels.
I do, yeah.
It's like, I'm upset when there isn't a graphic novel that I'm looking for on there, because I'm like, they have everything else. Snot Girl is one that's pretty aesthetic and mysterious, and I dyed my hair lime green because her hair was lime green. I was like, I want to be Snot Girl. But I really enjoyed that one. There's a ton on there. I read a ton of young adult, and I think that there is something for everyone, depending on any type of genre that you read. I would say I tend to be pretty big into mystery thrillers, and one that I love is Sadie by Courtney Summers. And if you are a fan of podcasts, this is also excellent. It's from two different points of views. One point of view is from a young girl. Her sister has been murdered, and she decides that she is going to get revenge and find her sister's murderer. And then the other point of view is from a podcast following her disappearance. So you're kind of following along to see where she is going. And if you listen to the audiobook, they made it sound exactly there's like crackling at parts during the podcast and stuff. So yeah, if you're into revenge stories and true crime and podcasts.
There you go. There you go.
That's not me, but
that one is one. I would say that's probably one of the best mystery thrillers that I've read.
It's interesting to see the emergence of podcasters in our fiction. There's been a lot more, in my experience, negative portrayals of them and how they invade, specifically like invading people's lives to get true crime facts to prop up their podcast. So I like to see more like a positive portrayal of them, unlike the newer Halloween movie where they were just the worst people all the time. Yeah, and I was like, that's not accurate representation.
I've mostly just seen them as like another story element.
Yeah.
The things that I'm reading, like they provide some, like they're the ones providing some sort of backstory that we're not getting from the main character and stuff.
Right.
So I've seen them in pretty interesting ways. it does seem like there is more of a trend happening with including them.
Yeah.
Am I up next?
Would you like to be? I also have a historical pick.
Okay, what's yours? Go ahead.
Mine is, and I knew this was one that you wouldn't pick.
Okay.
Codename Verity by Elizabeth Lean. That is one book that has stuck with me since I read it, and I read it over 5 years ago. It's about two friends who are, I think one is a secret agent and one is a pilot during Nazi Germany, and one of them is actually captured. And we follow kind of the letters that she's doing as she's been captured, and we follow her friend, you know, trying to get her out and whatnot. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. It's intense, but it is a fantastic story about the power of friendship as well. Yep, that is one that has stuck with me.
Yeah, it's one of the best World War II books I've ever read.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
So you want me to talk about my historical fiction because they're all historical fiction.
I know that they're all historical fiction.
I'm hooked on that. Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, and that's one of the best books I've ever read. And book clubs read it. I suggested it to adults year after year after year. I still do it. It was said to be the kind of book that can be life-changing. So when death has a story to tell, you listen. It's 1939, Nazi Germany, and the country is holding its breath. Death has been busier and will become even busier.
I love the narration. I love that Death is the narrator
Right.
in that story, which is such an interesting concept.
I have a non-Nazi book to talk about. Homesick Pilots, Volume 1. This is also on Hoopla. This is a newer compilation of the issues that just came out. Let's read the premise. In the summer of 1994, a haunted house walks across California. Inside is Amy, lead singer of a high school punk band who's been missing for weeks. How did she get there? What do these ghosts want? And does this mean the band has to break up, more importantly? I didn't think I'd like it at first because I think that when you see like punk people in horror movies, they're really just used for fodder for the dumbest type of character tropes and make bad decisions and get everyone killed. But they won me over because it's about friendship and the creature designs and the premise is really cool. It's like what you get out of the Japanese movie House, and there's a little bit of The Shining in there and a little bit of Return of the Living Dead, which is one of the good examples of punks in movies. It's kind of like a bad horror movie on the surface from the 80s, but it's done really well, and I'm excited about further editions of it. The spirit monster design is really cool and novel, I thought, too.
Death, talking about Death. Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Neil Shusterman, I would say, is a staple YA author all around for fans of any type of dystopian novel. And I would say if you're seeking kind of the thrill of what I call like golden age dystopian YA novels of like Hunger Games and Divergent, this is kind of in the vein of that, but 10 times better in my opinion. This is a utopian world where no one can die, and instead they have to hire scythes in order to kill people, otherwise the population would be overrun. And we follow two characters who are becoming apprentices to become scythes. And they, have to figure out, they're kind of seeing how other scythes do it, and there's this debate.
Scythe, like it's in the tool?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm probably saying it wrong.
No, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
The farming tool, like
Yes.
the Grim Reaper.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, the cover has it's like a robed figure is holding it. Yeah, but there's debate within this community about whether or not like you should do it randomly, if there should be a decision behind who you kill and things like that. And our two apprentices find out that at the end, only one of them will get it, and things will not turn out well for the other one. But there's an uproar, and it's a trilogy, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's so well written. Every time I've picked one up, I've like sat down and read it all the way to the end.
Are the scythes like random people, or are they conditioned to be killers? Or
They tend to be random. Neither of our apprentices really wanted the position. They are just kind of chosen. I guess picks people based on personality choices and whatnot. Yeah, but their families also get immunity if they get it. So there's a bunch of different layers to it, but yeah, if you're seeking that kind of thrill of all that and taking down a larger system, then but he's a fantastic reader. I enjoy pretty much everything he puts out.
That's something I can suggest to patrons.
Oh yeah, especially if you have, because I know we have a ton of people that come in and they're looking for something like The Maze Runner. They're looking for something like Divergent because those are the big ones that they've seen.
Right.
Any of his stuff works because he does a lot of apocalyptic stuff.
I wanted to talk a little bit about a comic that was recommended a few episodes ago called Sweet Tooth. And the Netflix series has come out, and I wanted to see, Allie, if you had any thoughts on the comic versus the series. Have you had a chance to watch the series?
I have not watched it, but I have seen absolutely fantastic things from people who have not read the graphic novel, who are saying that it's stunning. And I noticed that it was trending on Netflix for quite some time, and I was a little worried because no one had really heard of it.
Right.
And it is such a weird concept that I was like, oh gosh, no one's going to watch it, and it's not going to do well, and it's going to upset me, but it seems like it's been...
It's really popular, yeah.
Yeah.
And my experience with that, because I rented or borrowed the comic from Hoopla again, and I really enjoyed it. I loved how weird it was. Like the style is not pretty. The characters are not meant to be good looking. They're not meant to be cute. They're not meant to be heartwarming, really, in my experience. But the series takes a completely different path, a Netflix series, and it's more like a Steven Spielberg feel-good Bildungsroman golden hour type show where it kind of sands the edge off, basically.
Okay. Interesting.
It's kind of like a utopia in the beginning, unlike the situation that you're presented with at the start of the comic, where there's a lot of problems and
Well, he's on his own in the start of the comic.
right. Great acting by Will Forte as the father, which is a fully realized character that you don't really get as far as I've gotten in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that both of them offer something different, and I think you should go. I would say read the comic first, and then go for the first season of Sweet Tooth.
Who's the author then?
Jeff Lemire. Yeah,
I'm surprised I don't know if we have
I'm trying to get it.
because
Pull up there.
they've been out for some time.
Yeah,
And I think they were popular when they first came out. But
they're getting
since
read.
then, it has died down a bit. But yeah, I was reading them as they were coming out. And that was like my favorite one at the time. That was before Saga had come along.
Okay. Yeah, they're on Hoopla, and like on the front page of Hoopla, you can't miss them.
So you definitely think they're teen, they aren't like a kind of a crossover from J graphic
No,
novel?
definitely.
They're
Definitely
teen,
yeah.
There's some gore and violence and
Okay.
whatnot involved.
A lot of adult themes, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna need a list.
Well, good thing we put one in the description.
Okay, so I have 3 books by Ruta Siptis,
I think Sepentes.
Sepentes?
maybe? Sepentes,
Okay.
Yeah.
and the first one is Salt to the Sea. I know Allie's read most all of these. Winter, 1945, World War II, 4 refugees, 4 stories, each born of a different homeland, each one hunted and haunted by tragedy, lies, and war. It is one of the best books.
All of her writing
Yes.
is fantastic.
And also Between Shades of Grey. It's about a 15-year-old girl, Lena, in Lithuania, living an ordinary life until Soviet officers invade her home and tear her family apart. So they go to Siberia to a work camp. It is really, I thought that was really heart-wrenching.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. And I think there's some Easter eggs in those that relate them.
Oh.
Yeah, the characters' names are mentioned in both those books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like she's like, oh, my cousin, and it's like the character from the other book.
Okay. Fountains of Silence, set in Madrid, 1957, under the fascist dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. Spain is hiding a dark secret. Meanwhile, tourists and foreign businessmen flood into Spain under the welcoming promise of sunshine and wine. I can remember Ruta was at PLA, and you got that book.
Yeah, so
Signed
she signed
by
it. Yeah, and I had already owned 2 copies of
Oh,
it.
did you?
I was like, oh, well, I'm keeping this one. Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen that she has come out with anything
She
as of recently.
Takes a very long time to publish anything because she does intensive research when she does, because she does historical fiction and
Right.
she wants to get it right.
Right.
I think I'd rather have a book that's done well, wait for a book that's done well, than have an author just keep
Pushing them
pushing
out.
stuff and then not being as accurate as they can be. Anytime I see her coming out with something, I'm like, pre-order, pre-order, pre-order.
I wanted to mention a book that we have in print now in the library called Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Volume 1 by Haro Aso. This is about a corporate drone working himself to death in one of Japan's infamous black companies that means long hours and unpaid overtime. After 6 years, he's considering suicide to escape from his job. Luckily, a zombie invasion breaks out, freeing him from work and giving him the push to pursue all the things he was too scared to do before. So the bucket list is created. Bucket list items in a zombie-filled Japan. It's a really fun, over-the-top manga with cartoonish violence and sexual content, so just be aware. I would say check it out if you like Zombieland or Shaun of the Dead, where the story is about people surviving separately from dealing with the zombies. It's more about interpersonal relationships rather than trying to overcome the zombie infestation.
You know?
I don't usually go for that stuff, but this was really got to me.
I was thinking I have something for everyone, but I don't think I know very many good zombie books that I have read.
Shane filled in for you.
Yeah, there we go. That's all I have.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
That's all I'm willing to say at this moment.
I'm sure we could think of a lot more. Well, I know I can think of a lot more. Always feel free to check in with your branch and see what all they have and see if they have any suggestions.
We've got lots of suggestions.
I think that YA for me was not something that I initially got into like before I started working at the library, but that was one genre that I really got into when I first started, and it does, like you said, have something for everybody, and it's important, I think, for young readers to see that there are experiences out there that are like their own, even if they're taking place in different settings. And I think that the YA genre does a great job letting you know that you're not alone in the world, even though what you're going through is pretty tough for most people at that time.
Teens love to. You just don't understand what I'm going through.
Right.
Someone has gone through it. I think, too, just because you maybe didn't like The Hunger Games or Twilight, don't knock all of YA.
Right.
Those are just a very small portion of what YA is, but they tend to get very overlooked at the library, so give the aisle a peruse at some time and see if anyone catches your eye. Thank you for joining us. Check out the titles that will be listed down below, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Let's Get Lit. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or want recommendations, please contact us either in the comments section, by giving us a call, or by emailing us at letsgetlit@AlleghenyCountyLibrary.info.